CTV once again busted for making fake news. Now, this old parody of the news and how they manipulate things is circulating on Twitter. Kenzie Potter putting out a breaking leaked CTV News training video.
Tonight on Rock Bottom. Somebody had to take the babysitter home. Then I noticed she was sitting on her sweet can. I grabbed her sweet can. Oh, just thinking about her can. I just wish I had her sweet can.
So, Mr. Simpson, you admit you grabbed her can.
Yeah, of course. This is how they do it, and this is how it's actually been done in Canada just recently. Video, Pierre Poilievre calls out Bell Media CTV for editing 2 video clips of Pierre Poilievre speaking together to make false narrative for their news story. I'm not making this up. It's just, this is the reality that we live in Canada.
And that's why we have a common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Axe the tax. This will be a carbon tax referendum, a carbon tax election. And I know that the media has worked hard to try and avoid me saying the words carbon tax.
That's exactly what it was. They're avoiding the words carbon tax. And I'm sorry for laughing so much. It's just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that this is what's happening in Canada. Here's Andrew Scheer putting out a video talking about the incident exactly.
It's no wonder distrust in the media is at an all-time high. It's because Canadians are seeing more and more examples of how they twist the truth. But this one takes the cake. I've never seen anything like this. CTV News just got caught creating fake news. They were trying to promote a government talking point, and they took a clip of Pierre Poilievre making a statement about the carbon tax and giving Canadians a carbon tax election, and they spliced it together to do this.
While the continuation of the plan appears safe for now, the events of the last week have raised new questions over the plan's future.
That's why we need to put forward a motion.
The Conservatives announced a non-confidence vote.
That's why it's time to put forward a motion for a carbon tax election. That's why it's time we need to put forward a motion for a carbon.
The Conservatives announced.
Okay, so it's kind of hard to tell because the editor, for some reason, put very loud music over top of what was being said there. Good job, editor. Maybe tone it down just a little bit so people can get the message, not just the tunes, the breaking tunes that you got going on in your videos. But here's the breakdown. Sebastian Skamski put this out. Today, CTV News was caught splicing video of Pierre Poilievre to propagate the Liberals' narrative. This is not only a total fabrication designed to deceive Canadians, but also a major breach of journalistic ethics. Of course, CTV must apologize for their flagrant use of disinformation. They're a very fragrant news organization. Absolutely. So here's where it was, and here's the point of contention. So this is a request for an apology for doing this. But here's the clip right here. Pierre Poilievre clip from CTV says, that's why we need to put forward a motion. Now, they wanted to keep that carbon tax thing out of there. So what did they do? They had to splice several different points of a whole paragraph together to make him say the thing that they wanted him to say instead of the thing he actually said. So what did he actually say? After 9 years of the Liberal NDP government, they've doubled the debt, doubled housing costs, caused the worst inflation in 40 years, sent 2 million people to the food bank, unleashed crime and chaos in our communities. That's why it's time to put forward a motion for a carbon tax election. A carbon tax election needed because the NDP Liberals plan to hike the carbon tax by 300% all the way to 61 cents a liter. 61 cents a liter. Can you believe that? Can you imagine that just being the carbon tax on top of all the other taxes? Nonetheless, this is what he said, which would cripple our economy, put hundreds of thousands of people out of jobs, mean empty shelves at grocery stores. We need a carbon tax election so Canadians can vote to axe the tax, build homes, fix the budget, stop the crime with the common sense conservative government. So they took these things, not only did they take them from different parts, but they put them out of sync and out of motion just so they could have a sentence that would avoid what they didn't want being said on their network. And this is just absolutely, I mean, it's criminal. It's unethical for sure. But how is this? How did they not getting sued? I mean, I think that Pierre Poilievre ought to sue them for this, but this is the way it goes. Now, CTV did come out and apologize for this. They manipulated a clip, and this is their apology.
Last night, in a report on this broadcast, we presented a comment by the official opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, that was taken out of context. It left viewers with the impression that...
Taken out of context. They literally spliced the sentence together from words on other sentences. But that's their narrative now. It was taken out of context.
Conservative non-confidence motion was to defeat the Liberals' dental care program. In fact, the Conservatives have made it clear the motion is based on a long list of issues with the Liberal government, including the carbon tax. A misunderstanding during the editing process resulted in this misrepresentation. We unreservedly apologize to Mr. Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada. We regret this report went to air in the manner it did.
It was a mistake in our editing process. Oh golly, it just kind of, those words kind of fell together, and they it was completely unintentional for us to go with the NDP talking point of them cutting the dental care. What? It was all about the carbon tax. And it's just, this is the equivalent of a non-apology. This is the equivalent of them saying, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. You know what I mean? That's not apologizing for what you did. It was not out of context. It was specifically counter context. It was intentionally manipulated. Now, a discussion on this. Kate Harrison murders CTV News for using dirty tricks to smear Pierre Poilievre. Listen carefully to what she says. Do you agree? Is it time to end the media bailout? Says Mark Slapinski on Twitter.
They've admitted the mistake. It was basically human error and incompetence, or that happens in this business, right? I'm not saying CTV News is incompetent, but we all make mistakes in this business, and we apologize for it. And they published it, and their chief anchor said it on the show. But to demand that they apologize for the malicious nature of the editing, to admit to a malicious intent here, that's a demand that's difficult for a news agency to accept.
I'm not sure that we should wave it away as just a mistake, because this is not a misattribution. It's not even taking part of the same sentence and applying it in a different context. Yep. This is taking a full paragraph, a variety of sentences that Pierre Poilievre said, taking bits and pieces from each sentence to craft a new sentence. Yeah. That is journalistic malpractice.
Okay, so just, and I'm not defending this, I'm explaining this. The sentence that Pierre Poilievre said is, that's why it's time to put forward a motion for a carbon tax election. For whatever reason, they spliced together different things he said in that scrum to create the sentence. That's why we need to put forward a motion. Now, it's not like it was...
And then went on to say that it was about the dental plan. That's what they did, and nothing to do with the carbon tax. Anyway, go ahead.
Change to him saying something outrageous. It's not a sentence he uttered. It does not say it's about a carbon tax election, and in the way it was presented in the story, it makes it sound like he wants an election to stop dental care.
Correct.
So I get why they feel they were taken out of context, and CTV admitted to that and apologized for it. But the suggestion from Mr. Poilievre's tweets that the Bell Canada corporate suite is somehow weaponizing its news agencies to get favorable treatment by the Trudeau government is a lot to say.
I don't think that they're feeling that they've been taken out of context. Mm-hmm. They were taken out of context.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
When you are the Fifth Estate, you are in the accountability game, just the same as politicians are. And a quick apology the same day for something that is so egregious that action to be taken is not going to be enough when we're talking about the table stakes of not favorable coverage, fair and balanced coverage. And that's all Conservatives are asking for. They're asking for fair coverage. They're not asking for glowing reviews. They just want the facts to be reported as they are. So I don't think that it is, delving into conspiracy theory. We had 3 separate sentences. A Frankenstein sentence emerged as a result. that deserves to be called out, and I think that should be called out regardless of who says it in the House of Commons or which journalistic entity makes such a bad decision.
Absolutely. And that's where we're at, but they don't want to concede that. Now, of course, Pierre Poilievre saying that they wanted to avoid him saying the carbon tax in the coverage because, again, it's largely a popular issue. The Canadian public do not want the carbon tax, and if it comes down to it, well, we're seeing across the board. I mean, David Eby out in British Columbia is now even saying, well, if they get rid of the carbon tax, we'll get rid of ours, or we'll get rid of ours, but only if they get rid of the federal one. It's crazy. This is what people want in Canada, and this is what they're trying to avoid in the media.
Media has worked hard to try and avoid me saying the words carbon tax, as we saw in the extremely dishonest and fraudulent report from Bell Media-controlled CTV, who is a company that is whose bonds have been downgraded to near junk status as its overpaid CEO empties the books to pay his wealthy friends an unacceptably and unrealistically high dividend. But the reason why he and his other cronies of that company are going after me is because he knows that I'm standing up for the people against the crony capitalists and insiders like him.
And that's where we are. That's where we are with that. So yeah, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about all of this. And of course, if you'd love to have a cup of coffee with me, I'm always having cups of coffee in the morning with everybody else. Come join me in a cup of coffee over on ClydeDoSomething.com. Of course, Clyde Brew Something Coffee is a new thing that we've launched. If you're interested, if you want to have some great coffee, I love having this locally roasted in British Columbia. This isn't some drop ship scheme. No. This is a friend of mine who runs a business doing roasting coffee. We carefully selected these specific roasts, the dark roast, decaf, and medium roast coffee, whatever your fancy is, whether you like them in beans or ground. Get on over there, get yourself some of this, even drink it right out of a Clyde Do Something mug. Anyway, go check out the store over there and leave a comment in the comment section down below about all the things that we talked about today. Is it ethical? I mean, am I even asking this question legitimately? Is it ethical for the CBC to splice together a sentence out of an entire paragraph of what Poilievre said just to avoid the narrative that they want to avoid? Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.